It is not often that we hear about a great mathematician, even less often that we hear about a great female mathematician. However, each and every one of us has been in a math class thinking, who could have possibly sat down and written this textbook? Well, Maria Gaetana Agnesi is one such extraordinary person. Agnesi was born in Milan, Italy on May 16, 1718, as the first child of Pietro Agnesi, a wealthy silk merchant, and Anna Fortunato Brivio. Her father would go on to father another 20 children after her that Agnesi would largely take care of in her teenage and early adult years. One of these other children was Maria Teresa Agnesi Pinottini, a composer who was also a prodigy. She received her education from her older sister and performed around Europe. Her great talent in music supports the idea that giftedness can be an inherited trait. She also received her private education here in her father's home. Early on in her life, it became clear that Agnesi was not like other young ladies. At the age of 5, she learned how to have a conversation in her native Italian and French. Not that exciting. Plenty of bilingual toddlers out there. However, amazingly, by the time she was 11, Agnesi mastered 7 different languages, including Greek, Latin, Hebrew, German, and Spanish, earning her the nickname of the seven-tongued orator. When Agnesi was 9 years old, her father invited many of his wealthy friends to come and see Maria. Once everyone arrived, the terribly shy Maria gave an oration on the importance of educating women and girls. This is where she first gained eminence as a gifted linguist. This oration was written by her teacher at the time, and she was translating it from Latin for the whole room to hear. Afterwards, her father would regularly invite people around the house for her to exhibit her skills despite her known shyness. He was likely trying to show off his brilliant daughter. Soon after Agnesi turned 15, her father began to have regular meetings with his friends and asked Maria to perform for them, making her defend up to 190 philosophical theses, which he later published. She argued these against some of the most learned men in Bologna. A lesser understood part of Agnesi's life was her devotion and love of church. Born Catholic, Agnesi wrote extensively on the connection of intellectual pursuits in academics and contemplation on religion. She believed that there was a connection between academics and the divine. In fact, when she was still a teenager, she asked permission to join a convent, and her father denied her admittance. Despite the setback, she remained devoted to God her whole life and never married, despite her family's desire for her to do so. She instead spent her life studying theology. Agnesi received a private education where her tutors came to her. She was taught by a number of famous and accomplished men. One such man was Ramiro Lodovico Rampanelli. He was a part of the church and helped cultivate her love of religion as well as her love of mathematics. When she was 30 years old, she became the first woman to publish a standardized textbook for women and children. She cited the need for women to be educated so that they might educate their own children, the future leaders of Italy. This, of course, faced backlash, but she published anyway. Agnesi was gifted in mathematics as well as language, and developed a differential calculus equation known as the Witch of Agnesi, which she published in her textbook. This groundbreaking research awarded her a professorship at the University of Bologna. However, after publishing her book, Agnesi retired from math, including her professorship, and dedicated the last 4 decades of her life to studying theology and tutoring her younger siblings. She never married and died at 80 years old. Some people might argue that Agnesi gave up on her gift and turned away from it after making her breakthrough in math. However, I believe that Agnesi had much more to give the world than theoretical science allowed. She contributed to church and participated in the research of theology to further education of many people as opposed to just the wealthy. If Agnesi was in school today, she would likely be placed in an extremely accelerated math program. Due to her interest in theology as well, I might recommend she be placed in a private Catholic school to further her research into theology. This would align with her family's social needs as well. It is likely that the young Agnesi would be accelerated in grade due to her overall skill in language and math. These talents and her love of reading would propel her through the grades that she may have a more rigorous academic challenge. It is extremely likely that she would continue learning at home as well. She would also benefit from teachers who took care of her. Much of Agnesi's life was spent serving others in the role of caretaker, and she was not afforded much time to be a child and follow her own dreams and passions. Gifts and talents need support to be developed, something which Agnesi sorely lacked. In short, Agnesi was an advocate for women and children. She dedicated much of her life to helping those less fortunate than her, as well as contributing to the burgeoning world of mathematics. She was the first woman to publish a textbook and the first to be a professor. She is an icon for women everywhere to look up to. Maria Gaetana Agnesi was a champion for women's rights at a time when women's rights did not exist. How might Maria's life been different if she did not face the enormous responsibility of helping to raise her own siblings after her stepmother's death and was allowed to do the things that she wanted to do?